Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this, the fourth episode in our series on auto tech. I've got to say, one of the many things that we have discovered during our time is the reduction in friction and the improvement in efficiency by virtue of connectivity and digitization has meant that the whole aspect, the whole infrastructure, the whole ecosystem of the auto industry has changed dramatically across the globe. And what it's meant as well is that there's been a number of new entrants. There's been people who've remained in one part of that industry, have now moved over into other aspects of the industry. And the shape of the industry is changing incredibly. None more so than for the OEMs, the car manufacturers. And it therefore gives me great pleasure today to talk to a significant car manufacturer, one that I believe is probably the fastest growing car manufacturer, mainstream car manufacturer across the globe. And that's Kia. And to be able to talk to one of the members of the senior leadership group is a great pleasure. And it's great to have with us here today the European Marketing Director, David Hilbert. David, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for coming on with us. So Kia and the OEMs, they're all changing, their whole remit. They're moving away from their traditions and calling themselves a mobility provider. Explain that.
Well, first, thanks for welcoming me onto your show, Tony. Yeah, look, the last decade we've seen huge advancements in terms of technology in the industry, and particularly in the areas of connectivity and autonomous driving. And as a result of those two, it's positioning ourselves more as able to provide mobility solutions moving forward. We're developing vehicles that are using much more sophisticated software versus previous decades. For example, safety. There's a lot of technology involved in terms of connected car and autonomous driving that brings a lot of safety features to our vehicles. And as a result, the gap between the traditional car manufacturers and tech companies is really decreasing as the automotive landscape is kind of evolving and developing. And then on top of that, you've got things like electric powertrains as well. So, electrification, connected car, autonomous driving, this is providing much more opportunity for us to explore being more of a mobility provider as opposed to a kind of OEM manufacturer. So that's, how it's kind of evolved, particularly in the last decade.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, it's interesting you talk about sort of that gap has now moved quite substantially from being sort of the car manufacturer and the software companies, because a lot of software companies that are now joining into this space. You've got people like XPeng, obviously Tesla, and those people who, let's say Lynk & Co, all of those people, they don't have any legacy in terms of IT systems and infrastructure. Does that not put you guys sort of on the back foot because you do have legacy?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not so long ago that we were the new kid on the block, but you're right. Kia is now a fully established mainstream brand. In fact, last year we just had a record year in Europe with a market share in excess of 4%, over 500,000 vehicles. And we think this gives us an advantage over some of the new brands hitting the market. Why? Because ultimately legacy kind of insights, kind of trust in our brand, because we've got that kind of large UIO out there, and we've got some we've got lots of loyal customers. So it allows us to be a bit more experimental with our product, and also looking at not just our product but the sales model and even our offers. The emerging trends of kind of e-commerce is not necessarily determined or reserved for these newer brands. And it's this sales model is a kind of a natural progression for automotive, just as it is for many other retail sectors. But one thing's for certain, whatever we do, we want it to kind of complement our strong partnership with our dealer network, and we'll always use that as our baseline, because a vehicle is a large, significant purchase, and there's a lot of technology, as we've mentioned, in these cars, and we find that customers want to explore the car in the flesh, speak to people in the flesh, and understand that technology. So whilst we're looking at lots of digital solutions, we're also very conscious of the kind of the dealership experience needs to be strong as well from a customer retention point of view.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite interesting, because a lot of the new entrants are looking at going direct to the customer. Is that something as well that Kia is looking at? Do you think that those manufacturers who do have a lot of dealerships, how's that going to work with them? Do you see that there can be a hybrid situation between you can do a bit of direct and a bit of dealer selling? What's the perspective from your point of view?
Like I said, ultimately we want to make sure we've got a strong baseline of our dealer network and partnership there, and they've got very good. They deliver very good and exceptional customer service levels, and we want to complement that with additional routes to market. So, of course, we will always be, keeping a close eye on sales via online channels, and we're testing different solutions there. But primarily our sales growth is being driven by our strong partnership with the network and delivering strong levels of customer service. So we see that as being the fundamental baseline.
Okay, a lot of people as well are talking about, and the companies I just talked about earlier are certainly looking at subscription models. Everybody's saying it's not about ownership, it's about usership, and therefore let's go down subscription models. Do you think that that's a viable option, or is that only ever going to come when you get some sort of autonomous type vehicle? What's your view?
I think it's a topic of great interest to us at the moment, and the industry and Kia will always be guided by that customer demand, as I mentioned. And currently there is an appetite for vehicle use in all forms, and but having said that, many are not ready to go from vehicle ownership just yet. But then there are some that rarely use their vehicles, so it could be a solution for them in the future. We're going to keep monitoring it, but even us, we've just recently launched our own mobility service called Wheel Drive, and which was launched, I think, in Italy, France, originally in Spain, and it's been very well received. And users can rent a vehicle on flexible terms to really suit their mobility needs, ranging from 1 day to kind of a whole year. I think certainly you mentioned autonomous vehicles, and I think once autonomous vehicles develop at scale, this will probably create even more opportunities and another shift later on. But really, we see a future where hopefully we can offer customers a multiple ownership and subscription services available to them, really depending on what their preference, lifestyle, geographical location is. So yes,
I think it's really interesting is that, as we said from the very beginning, that's what connectivity has enabled. It's enabled, greater access to different forms of ownership, usership, which we've never had before. The model that we've experienced in the auto industry has been there almost 100 years. And now within a space of a very short period of time, everything is changing. But having said that, the average age of someone buying a car today across Europe is something like 53. Do you really think that those people are going to embrace this new digital age?
Well, I doubt there are many kind of 53-year-olds that don't own a mobile phone, a tablet, or a smart TV. I think the older generation is generally quite a tech-savvy audience, and probably not given the credit that they deserve. But certainly connectivity functions will appeal to one demographic more than another. But the investment in things like digital solutions is a kind of necessary and natural progression for our industry. And not only will digital advancements serve consumers from many practical perspectives, but this evolution in kind of connectivity will also hopefully lead to improvements in things like road safety as well for everyone. And from our point of view, we aim to inspire a movement in our customers. And what could be more inspirational than a vehicle that assists you at every stage, providing you that confidence that you are safe. So yes, that's why we're focusing a lot on this kind of new technologies, and we see ourselves moving into being positioned more as a mobility company moving forward.
Brilliant. David, thank you very much indeed for that nice little insight. Very helpful. I know that a lot of people here would love to have heard what you just said. Thank you all very much indeed for listening and watching today. I hope you found it inspiring. I certainly have. And I look forward to welcoming you to our 5th episode of Autotech. Thank you, and thank you once again, David.
Thank you.